Yes, hello, my beautiful friends. It is an amazing Friday. I hope your week is coming to a very nice and easy close. And we're excited that you are here with us today. We've got some business to attend to before we close out the week. Several different stories queued up, and we got some court updates today, which we're looking forward to. We've had a lot of assassination updates because, there was an assassination attempt, which was absolutely insane. But a lot of that is settling down. A lot of the initial letters from Congress have gone out. We're going to keep our eye on that, of course. But there were a bunch of other legal updates that have come down. We're going to focus on two of them, and we're going to go back to Tish James, who didn't do much in that trial with Judge Arthur Engoron, aka the Nip. We remember that saga. But two updates from them. One, Trump is submitting his appeal. Big one. This was the $454 million verdict, $500 million with interest and all the stuff. When Angeron said that Mar-a-Lago was only worth $18 million. Remember that whole thing? So Trump has been just crushing, doing very well in the courts, as we've followed, been the victor in Florida, the classified documents case. That entire case was dismissed. Bye-bye. We know that Big Fanny's having trouble in Georgia. We got a difficult time with Alvin Bragg in New York because they delayed that sentencing. He was already supposed to be sentenced, but that got delayed. And so now we're taking a look at this other one, $500 million and threats to seize his property in New York. Trump submitted the appeal. It's over 100 pages. We're going to go through it and hit the highlights because there is some good stuff inside, and Tish cannot be happy about this. And we're going to see if immunity might come into play. But Trump's defense attorney, Christopher Keese, was already out responding to this, so we'll see what he says about it. We also then are going to see what Judge Arthur said, because if you recall, a while ago, so much has happened. We have a new presidential candidate nominee for the Democrats. Joe Biden's out. The debate happened. All these different things. But remember, they were also trying to get rid of Judge Arthur, the same guy who was, we think, playing footsie or something like that with his law clerk up there at the bench. They moved the cameras away from them. Very weird, scandalous thing. And Alina Abba was commenting about it from inside the courtrooms. That's how we know about all that. But he was having a very inappropriate ex parte conversation with somebody at the courthouse. And that's not what you're supposed to be doing as a judge, right? Not supposed to be getting outside counsel from other people who say this and that and the other thing. And so Trump wanted him recused from this case. He has come out, denied his own recusal again. And so we'll see what he said about that. And then we'll turn our attention to some political stuff. And there's a lot of that cooking. The Obamas bend the knee to Kamala. That happened this morning. And a very interesting thing happened with the timing on this one, because Trump came out last night and was making fun of the Obamas, saying, we're not going to debate Kamala. I've already debated your nominee, and then you switched him on me. So we're calling it a debate and switch, like a bait and switch, which is fraud, right? You induce somebody to do something and then you switch it on them. It's fraudulent, which is what the Democratic Party is. So they have debated and switched this entire operation, with Joe Biden now being thrown over the bridge, Kamala Harris trying to swap in like the WWE or something like that, tag team. Trump just demolishes Biden and he's like, oh, help. Tags in. Kamala jumps in off with a chair trying to slam dunk on Trump. What are you doing here? So Trump was mocking them late last night. Then Obama, first thing this morning, like 2 a.m. my time, came out and then actually endorsed Kamala. Like, no, we love Kamala. Two statements, one from Michelle and one from Barack himself. And so we'll see what that looks like. And then we're going to jump into some of this debate kerfuffle, because Trump is saying, hey, look, I agreed to debate Joe Biden. Okay, I already did one time. And then you guys, like little cowards, threw him out and you brought in someone else. And so Trump is saying, look, I'm not going to just agree to debate anybody until she's actually the official nominee. And you guys make it clear and concrete. We're not agreeing to any terms. That's ridiculous. We already agreed to debate Joe Biden twice and you pulled him out. So we're going to go through that. A lot of reaction on this. And some fun stuff. And so we're grateful that you are here and with us, my friends. It is a beautiful Friday. We love Fridays. And we're here a little bit early because we were out late last night. We had 2 scoops of ice cream last night out at Franny's in Prescott, Arizona, man. 2 scoops. Your boy went a little hard. So we're going to do an early show and then spend the rest of the day at the gym later today. So that's why we're here today. Thanks for joining us. It's going to be a beautiful Friday, and we're glad we get to spend this time together. And so we got 4 good segments to get to. Of course, when we're done here, we'll spend some time over at watchingthewatchers.locals.com, our members-only community. We'd love to have you come and join us and hang out with us for our members-only after party. Links are down in the description below. And we love our membos. We do membos-only content many times throughout the week. And so thanks for being a membo. I know, 2 scoops. I know, out of control, out of control. So see if we can keep it together. I almost had 3, but if I would have had 3, we would have had to cancel the show. So didn't do that. Kept some control on the day. So glad to be here, my friends. Thanks for understanding the situation. All right. And so let's see what's cooking out there, because we got some good business to attend to here today. Starting with the appeal. Donald Trump's defense attorneys now appeal the nearly $500 million judgment that came out from Judge Arthur and Tish James, who, as we know, took her shoes off in the courtroom, stinking up the whole building. But Trump is now moving forward with this, saying we can't pay this because it's illegal. You have no right to judge our own financial agreements with our own banks. We came to terms with them. Nobody was defrauded here. This was all agreed upon. And so Tish is abusing her office. The appeal comes from Trump's defense attorney, Christopher Keese. And we got a statement from him before we jump into the appeal. Let's see what the attorney said about it. Trump's defense team said the following, says, all right, listen, President Trump is a visionary and an iconic real estate titan who has been baselessly pursued and persecuted by New York AG Tish and her unprecedented abuse of power. During 44 days of trial, not one witness, not one complaint, and not one victim supported Tish's manufactured claims of fraud. To the contrary, actually, evidence established that Trump's net worth far exceeded what was even reported in his financial statements, and the sophisticated bankers involved pursued and enjoyed a long and satisfactory business relationship with him as a prized client. They all loved it. They called him like a whale client. He was VIP. Hey, Trump's on the phone. They're going to need like $300 million for a new project. Drop everything, make him happy. And these were about agreements for loans, right? Trump would put up collateral. He'd say, okay, I think this collateral is worth $500 million. The bank would come back and say, we think it's worth 3. He said, okay, well, give me a loan for 350. They say, fine. And they'd come to terms on it. Okay, here's the interest rates. And the banks were happy. They did business with him multiple times. And he put up various items as collateral. And Tish came in and said, no, I actually think that you were fraudulent in your financial disclosures. And in the financial disclosures, it says, these are our estimates. Do your own due diligence. And the banks did their own due diligence. No one was defrauded at all. Nobody complained about it. This is a prosecutor in search of a crime, obviously. It says, this appeal from Christopher Keese seeks reversal of the trial court's legally bereft decisions. Oh, Angeron's not going to be happy about that. Legally bereft Angeron. Oh, which ignored the undisputed facts, refused to follow the binding mandate of the appellate division. So Angeron rejected what the higher courts told him to do, imposed draconian, unlawful, and unconstitutional penalties, and willingly allowed a reckless and politically motivated attorney general who took her shoes off. That's according to Alina Abba. In the courtroom, inappropriate, to meddle in lawful, private, and mutually profitable transactions. This was between Trump, the Trump organization, and the banks. And that's their business, not anyone else's. Now, this abject disregard for the established precedent, the Constitution, and the sanctity of the complex commercial marketplace of ideas in the New York legal system and the business community puts the sanctity at extreme risk. And indeed, such an outrageous miscarriage of justice is profoundly un-American, and a complete reversal is the only means available to restore public confidence in the integrity of the New York judicial system. Saying President Trump, therefore, today asks the appellate division to rescue the rule of law and to correct the innumerable and catastrophic errors made by a trial court untethered to the law or to commercial reality. Boom. That's from Trump's defense attorney, Christopher Keese. Tish James woke up to that because her entire life is dedicated to stopping Trump. In fact, that's why she ran for office. It was part of her campaign. She said it multiple times. So we're going to take a look at the appeal and how beautiful it is in 1 second. But this is what Tish is really all about. This came over from the New York Post. You can see this story tells us New York Attorney General Tish James, she admits, this is her words, her quote, singular focus is helping Kamala beat Trump. That's it? That's your singular focus? Aren't you the AG of New York, the Attorney General? Don't you care about like what your citizens are doing? You have a different mandate. You have statutorily mandated duties in the law. Your singular focus is to help stop Trump. We know that. That's why your prosecutions are illegitimate. James, who's long denied having any personal vendetta against Trump, because she's a liar, obviously, slammed Trump as an existential threat. She offered up a glowing endorsement of Harris during an appearance on The Readout, which is that woman who wants to beat Trump. I'm focused at this point in time on securing the nomination for VP Harris and then ultimately getting her elected. Wow, that's what you're doing? How do you do that? Well, you prosecute Kamala's opponent. Isn't that convenient? Now, that is my singular focus at this point in time, says Tish, and continuing to stand up for the rule of law. There is none. She has perverted it. And representing the citizens of New York, which I guess, is this what they want in New York? Is this what they care about? This improves their lives every day. They wake up, they go, gosh, my life would be so much better if Trump got prosecuted. James stressed her sole focus when asked if she hoped Harris would appoint her as the AG. Oh, okay. So now we see what that's all about. So she said, well, I mean, I don't know if I could be the Attorney General of the United States. Could you imagine Tish, Attorney General, running the Justice Department? Oh, my gosh. We'd be in the gulags in no time if they could find us. James stressed her sole focus when asked, do you think that you could be appointed AG for Kamala? Well, I don't know, she said. I have been prosecuting her political opponent. My singular focus at this point in time is to basically do that. Now, elsewhere in the interview, James doubled down, continued to unleash on Trump, who's accused her of leading a witch hunt because she has openly said that. James insisted that Harris was in the best position to go after Trump and all the things. So you can see the teams are forming now. And so they're not serving Biden, they're serving Kamala. So Joe is orchestrating the political prosecutions. Kamala will just inherit them. Trump is appealing. You can see this is what it looks like. Beautiful document. 116 pages. Donald Trump's appeal of Tish's nearly $500 million judgment against him issued by Judge Arthur. You can see this is Tish James versus Trump and a bunch of other people up in the appellate division, First Department, New York Supreme Court. And it's 116 pages. We'll hit some of the highlights so we can see how it's working. But the attorneys who've done great work on this, as always, are Christopher Keese, Sauer. You see Clifford Robert, Alina Abba's on the list. We got Armin Morian and other attorneys on the list. Looks like Christopher Keese and Sauer taking the lead on it, but the whole team is there. Now, it's a big filing. This is the table of contents. You can see we're going to just hit the highlights. It gets into a lot of the legal underpinnings of why Judge Engoron was so incorrect in his ruling. But let's get into it from the introduction, past the table of authorities, past the table of contents, just sharing this so we can see there's a lot to this puppy. And we start here with a preliminary statement from Trump's defense. Writing. All right, Court of Appeals, New York. In this case, Tish James is now seeking to unwind and destroy and penalize very highly successful transactions between Trump, Wall Street banks, and decisions that left everybody deeply satisfied and had no impact on the public interest at all. What Tish has done violates centuries of New York case law. It's a power grab exceeding her authority. And she cannot sue as a government official to vindicate interests that are purely private between two parties, in this case, Trump and the banks. Saying Angeron here wrongly decided this case. Now, even though it belonged in the commercial division, where if it would have gone into the commercial division where they had a jurisdiction, it would have been dismissed. Now, having kept the case, Angeron, the trial judge, has been overruled with alarming frequency, multiple times in this very case. Notably, the Supreme Court, Angeron, blatantly disrespected you, Court of Appeals, and your prior rulings on the statute of limitations. He didn't even adhere to that decision, barely mentioned its reasoning at all. Remember that there was an argument that a bunch of these transactions were just too old because Tish was going back in ancient history. Well, what about this bill, this bit property and that property? When did you transact that one and that one and that one? And the Court of Appeal says that's too old. You can't bring a charge on that. So Angeron said, okay, well, she's not going to bring a charge on that, but she can still talk about that because it will demonstrate a pattern. And then Trump's people said, well, you can't do that because that's like propensity and there's no propensity here, and allowed it. And they're saying that's in violation of what you said, Court of Appeals, saying Angeron's erroneous decisions, if upheld, would bestow upon the New York Attorney General limitless power to target anyone that she desires, including her political opponents that she talked about when she was campaigning. And so based on this ruling, companies are not going to want to come here, and many businesses are fleeing actually already. The economic aspects of this decision are a disaster for New York. Tish has used the statute in a way never seen before. That statute, which is a consumer fraud statute, does not allow for a jury trial, and it doesn't apply to victimless transactions where the banks made money and Trump was happy. So to be clear, Court of Appeals, there is no evidence that the representations that Tish challenges in this case influenced any business decision at all. On the contrary, in fact, no party ever complained at all. Nobody alleged any default. Trump got the loans, paid them back. Every loan payment was made on time. All loans were repaid in full. Some before they were even due. Trump paid it off early. Now, every representation made to the lenders was accompanied by clear disclaimers that lenders may reach a different result. Hey, do your own due diligence, they said. And lenders did, because they're banks. They're in the business of this. There were no victims here. There were no losses. Appellant's business partners made over $100 million in profits, and they reaped extensive benefits from their relationship with Trump. They raved internally about their business. They were eager for more. If Trump's conduct constituted fraud, then that word has no meaning because these were good deals that everybody was happy with. That means that Tish can do whatever she wants. She can seize and destroy private businesses. It's boundless. It's standardless. And this, these are the first instances of communism, right? This is the state seizing things. They can just come in and seize the means of production, seize these private businesses, destroy them. Your buildings are now our buildings. Wake up. Suddenly in the biggest city in the country has an open little communist who's actually doing this to people in America. We wonder, how does this happen? It's happening right now. It's in this document. We're reading it. President Trump stands among the most visionary and iconic real estate developers in American history, changed the entire skyline of multiple cities. As trial evidence highlighted, banks and lenders vied eagerly for his business. They acknowledged his unique vision and unparalleled expertise, and they recognized that dealing with him would deliver tremendous value. Now, in negotiating these transactions, appellants Trump provided statements of financial condition. Those were estimates of Trump's properties. Those were accompanied by disclaimers advising his counterparties to perform their own due diligence. In fact, many of these greatly undervalued Trump's assets. President Trump is worth substantially more, not less than what he reported. When those assets were sold in the marketplace, the objective assessment of their value, which is their sale prices, far exceeded Trump's own estimates. The old post office, for example, when he sold, that was $400 million on May 11th. On Trump's most recent statement, he only put that the OPO, the old post office, was valued at 130. He said, yeah, it's about 130. Sold it for 400. Same thing happened with Ferry Point Golf Course. Sold for at least 60 million, but on the most recent statement, he said, it's 22. He's undervaluing it. Based on unrebutted expert testimony, they can't prove otherwise, Mar-a-Lago is worth many hundreds of millions of dollars more than its valuation on the financial statements. Further, the statements did not reflect the inherent worth of Trump's unique brand either, which has enormous intangible value worth multiple billions of dollars that could have been included on those financial statements that were not. And so in short, Trump's estimates of his net worth were very low and conservative. They were not high, which is the exact opposite of what Tish alleges. In every project, Trump delivered tremendous value for his business partners. Lenders described Trump's performance on the development of the Doral Miami club as amazing. That's their words, not Trump's. Really impressive. Like, dang, this dude can move. The condominiums that the bank helped finance in the International Hotel Trump Chicago were selling like hotcakes, their words. President Trump's, quote, vision transformed the OPO, the old post office, from a long abandoned empty shell into the most elite hospitality establishment in Washington, D.C., creating enormous value for everybody. The Ferry Point project languished for years, costed New York $120 million in fruitless efforts, wasting their time, until President Trump came in. He undertook it, transformed it into a resounding success. Lenders described their dealings with President Trump as sensational, superb. They boasted of a long and satisfactory relationship with the Trump family. Indeed, a huge swath of business partners are still doing business with the Trump family and benefiting greatly from the relationship today. Now, despite all that, Tish now attempts to interfere with Trump's business to unwind these private and successful deals. In fact, Tish campaigned on the promise, literally, that she would get Trump, and made this promise the single greatest point of her entire campaign. No statute authorizes this power grab. So the New York AG had to invent that by applying Executive Law 6312 in a way that no one's ever seen before. Yet the Supreme Court unaccountably rewarded Tish's, and that's Angeron. Angeron gave Tish and gave her rewards for her lawless efforts at every turn. In fact, in this order, and in this order, and in this order, they're all filled with errors. Among others, this Angeron, which Angeron even struggled. Okay, this judge. Oh, this is beautiful. Oh, this is great. Angeron, who, as we remember, Angeron, for those unfamiliar with Angeron, remember, he's the guy who had that newsletter where he sent his entire newsletter filled with his old classmates from some school a bonus torso photo with his nips hanging out, poking out. Sending him to everybody. Hashtag bonus torso photo in their inbox. No one wants that in their inbox. So he's busy sending nipple photos to his friends, I guess. Angeron also struggled to understand basic banking concepts like a money market account, which valued the iconic Mar-a-Lago as worth 18 to 27 million, which is 50 to 100 times below its actual value, idiot. Now, according to trial testimony, the value is between 1.1 and 1.5 billion. He called it 18 million. It's now significantly higher based on current market conditions because Florida is hot, baby, and MAGA is hot, baby. Similarly, Supreme Court somehow ignored the fact that Tish's star witness is Michael Cohen, testified in this case too. He admitted on the stand that President Trump never directed him to inflate any valuations at all. Convicted perjurer, lied. The star witness for Tish's case doesn't even implicate Trump. So Engeron, the NIP's errors also included draconian financial sanctions, multiple awards of punitive relief against Trump's children. You hear about the communists taking out different families, right? Take out the dad and just eliminate, execute everybody. Same type of things happening here. It hasn't happened with guns yet. They tried it, but not with the kids yet. So hopefully we pray for them too. Now, despite their lack of any direct role in any of this stuff, not one of the 40 witnesses who even testified at trial had anything to say about Trump Jr. or Eric Trump, more than any peripheral knowledge. But Engeron penalized them. So Engeron's decisions should be reversed for 7 reasons. And we'll read through some of the highlights. First, Engeron made an error and violated the law by not just ignoring, but also rejecting this Court of Appeals directive. They said the continuing wrong doctrine does not delay or extend the limitations period in this case. And we're talking about a statute of limitations. So in certain cases, the government has to bring a charge against you within a certain period of time or you lose the right to do that. And the reason we want those rules is so the government doesn't wait around for 25 years and then, charge you with that DUI from 25 years ago. You want them to bring cases so that they don't just hang on to these things, pull cards out, and evidence doesn't spoil. We want to encourage quick prosecutions and speedy trials. So go. Now, Tish was going all the way back, looking back to the 80s, 90s, every business deal. Can we hit him with this? Can we hit him with this? Can we hit him with this? And Trump's defense said, no, it's like ancient history. She said there's a doctrine called continuing wrong, that you're extending, you did something wrong and you continue to do it again. And so there really is no expiration of a statute of limitations, because as long as you did something within the current statute, like say within the last 5 years, if that's the SOL, then it will relate back to all of the prior offenses. And you can go all the way back. Now, the Court of Appeals came out and said, no, doesn't work like that, Tish. These are separate. Doesn't apply. Doesn't apply here. So you can't go all the way back. Angeron doesn't care. Just 3 months after this court says, sorry, that does not apply, Angeron, loser, shockingly ignored that decision, incorrectly held that it does apply, and then artificially resuscitated all of these old, long extinguished claims. Now, second, the plain text of the law in New York cannot reasonably and constitutionally even be applied to the unique facts of this case. Tish lacks the authority to dismantle any purely private, highly successful, complex transactions between sophisticated parties represented by elite law firms, accountants, and other service providers that implicate no public interest at all. She has no jurisdiction about this. This is between Trump and a private business. No one got defrauded. No one filed a complaint. So Engeron erred, violated the black letter law. Okay, she brought a claim under Executive Law 6312, and it doesn't allow her to do it. Engeron allowed it. The law says it doesn't allow it. And also ignored the Court of Appeals. And they're holding that the statute's prohibition of fraudulent conducts, okay, meaning it needs to be fraudulent. If it's going to meet the statutory requirement, you have to show a capacity or tendency to deceive. Now here, every single statement had an actual disclaimer, a clear disclaimer, and every counterparty who was involved in these deals was free to perform. And guess what? They did perform their own due diligence. They didn't take Trump's word for it. They're banks. There is no evidence that any challenged representation had any impact on any business decision at all. No evidence of any causation. There's no victims. There's no injuries. There's no losses. But Engeron nevertheless held that any alleged falsity violates the statute per se. Any falsity violates it outright. Doesn't matter, right? In other words, it could be a mistake, not a fraud, and opens the door to destructive and punitive sanctions. So this interpretation violates the plain language. That's not what the law says. That's not what the case law says. It's not for mistakes. We don't criminalize or civilly penalize mistakes. And it raises grave constitutional problems if you can go in and find something like that. Engoron said, no, the statute is much lower. So you have a ton of leeway. Now, third, Engoron awarded $464 million in disgorgement penalties, saying it's baseless and it must be reversed in toto. Everything must go. Disgorgement, if you're going to require somebody to be disgorged of money, it requires a showing that the misconduct caused the supposedly ill-gotten gains. So there's some misconduct and causation. So somebody did something that caused something else to happen. In this case, illegal gains. There were no illegal gains. Who got any illegal gains? Here, there is no evidence that the supposed misrepresentations affected any terms of the agreement. On the contrary, because the representations had their own disclaimers and the lenders did their own due diligence, overwhelming evidence supports the opposite conclusion. Trump didn't cause them to give him certain discounts or anything like that. He said, this is what I think it is. They said, okay, that's your opinion. This is our opinion. And they came to terms. We know that because they did their own due diligence and then came to terms. And that's not a misrepresentation that caused them to be induced. He says, do your own due diligence. This is what our opinion is. Now, fourth, the $464 million disgorgement award is also unconstitutional under the U.S. Constitution. It's excessive fines and due process clauses. The monetary award is a punitive penalty imposed for retributive and deterrent purposes. It's both grossly disproportional under the Eighth Amendment and their excessive fines clauses, and it's grossly excessive under the due process clauses. Now, fifth, the judgment on the second through seventh causes of action must also be reversed. There is no plausible showing of materiality. There's no intent to defraud. In other words, these financial statements from Trump saying, I think I'm worth this, didn't cause any material changes to the terms. There's no intent to defraud in any of that because it's an open disclosure. And other necessary elements of the underlying provisions of the penal law. Now, six, the sweeping and intrusive award of the injunctive relief must also be reversed. This power does not even apply to this case at all. And there is no likelihood of continuing violations because there wasn't a violation here. And also, Angeron violated the law by allowing this in the first place because all of this conduct was clearly lawful. And seventh, the Supreme Court, Angeron, engaged in a series of erroneous valuations, including with Mar-a-Lago, calling it $18 to $27 million. Obviously, that's a tiny fraction of what it's actually worth. And these errors infected the subsequent trial. And so in sum, this politically motivated prosecution is attempting to penalize purely private, proper, and lawful conduct by illegally and unconstitutionally applying this law that would give Tish boundless authority to target her political opponents, as she's doing now, working for Kamala, as we saw. It would render the statute unconstitutional, and so the judgment must be reversed from Angeron. So a series of questions here on all seven of those. We know what the complaint looks like, and they zoom in on the details here. But Angeron is now somebody who is going to be facing this appeal, and we'll see what the Court of Appeals does. We remember that this is New York. So in New York, we don't expect much from the Court of Appeals. But after they reject this, it will be up to the actual appellate court in New York, which is their Supreme Court. And the rest from there may take us up to the United States Supreme Court, depending on where this goes. Now, we also have more on Angeron. Judge Arthur is refusing to recuse himself again. He has been the subject of many concerning activities, including a very interesting relationship with his law clerk, who had some close ties to Democrats. They were up on the bench together. Allison Greenfield, we remember her name, the judge's GF, short for Greenfield. Alina Abba said that they were passing notes around. Don't know what was in those notes, but we do know that there was a camera that was watching them. And then after Alina Abba made some comments, they moved those cameras around so that nobody could see what was going on. Well, the judge has been the subject of a lot of bias and prejudice and gag orders and a bunch of ridiculous things. And now there's new stories and rumors that he was improperly biased by another lawyer in the courtroom to come out with his decision. Now, he was the subject of a recusal motion from the Trump defense, and he is refusing to go again. And so here is the background. We'll take a look at his explanation. But the judge who ordered Trump to pay $454 million says, no, I didn't approach that lawyer. I was accosted. He came at me, and I'm not going anywhere. So we'll read the actual order from him. But he says, I'm not going anywhere. Trump is appealing this case, as we saw, but he says, I am supremely confident in my ability to serve on this case. Someone spoke with Angeron. Remember, this Bailey fella told CNN, this other attorney, that he spoke with Angeron about the decision. And he says, no, I didn't talk to him. I was just accosted by him. So Angeron is not going to go anywhere. Here is what the order says. From New York Supreme Court, which is their low-level court, Honorable Arthur F., a.k.a. Angeron, a.k.a. the Nip Areola, is here. He says, all right, look, we know Trump has been prosecuted. Trump has already submitted a motion to recuse, saying, dude, you're biased. You had an ex parte conversation, which is not lawful for judges to do, with someone about this case. You didn't disclose it. We found out about it. You need to go. On February 16th, there was a trial. And then we learned that on May 8th, we fast forward just a couple months ago, NBC New York reported that Adam Lightman Bailey is a lawyer with no connection to this case. He showed up on NBC News. He boasted that several weeks before Angeron, the Nip, issued the decision in order, he approached the judge presiding over Trump's civil fraud case to offer unsolicited advice about the law at issue in this case. So this lawyer just went up to the judge. Now, on July 8th, this court so ordered in part defendants to subpoena Bailey, directing him to disclose any documents that might refer to this action. Now, Trump moves for Angeron to recuse himself. He says, for me to recuse myself, or in the alternative, for an evidentiary hearing before some other judge to talk about the potential impact of the decision to meet with this guy. And so he says, okay, here's what happened. Angeron, he's explaining himself. He says, all right, the unsolicited ex parte communication. So here's his excuse. Now, sometime in or about February, several weeks before I issued the post-trial decision, at the end of the business day, says the Nip, I left my robing room. Oh, good. Hopefully he took off his tassels and put his shirt back on. In the courthouse at 60 Center Street and rode an elevator down to the main floor. Now there, on the outskirts of the famous rotunda, Bailey, the lawyer, accosted and started haranguing me about executive law. He did not relay any alleged facts. Oh my gosh. He got accosted and harangued. Now, prior to that time, I considered Bailey a professional acquaintance and a distant friend. His sudden appearance and his vehement speech took me aback, and I simply told him that he was wrong. Now, he trailed after me, still droning on, as I descended the judge's stairs to the street level. I entered my vehicle without saying another word except perhaps goodbye, and I departed. For approximately 3.5 years prior to this unpleasant occurrence, starting in September 2020, I had researched the law already and had issued many rulings, including preliminary injunction and other decisions based on it. And I certainly did not need a landlord-tenant lawyer ranting about it. Oh, hey, landlord-tenant lawyers, he's talking smack on you guys. I'm not a landlord-tenant lawyer, but I mean, it would be like, I certainly do not need a criminal defense lawyer telling me about it. Oh, I'd be offended as hell. I'd be like, what did you just say about me, punk? What kind of judge are you? It's like, okay, we actually do work. Landlord-tenant lawyers actually do work. All right, not like this judge. Anyways, so, man, he's talking garbage to landlord-tenant lawyers. Ooh, man, you guys better be mad about that. I did not initiate, welcome, or encourage, or engage in, or learn from, much less enjoy Bailey's tirade. Oh, Bailey, man, hey, Bailey, if you're out there, if you want to come on and talk about this, we'll do it. Now, I did not base any part of any of my rulings on it, as Bailey has outlandishly, mistakenly, and defamatorily claimed. You're going to sue him, Judge? Maybe you should. The entire 90-second incident, after 3.5 years of studying and being immersed in the law, to use the vernacular, is a nothing burger. I would have forgotten all about it by now had Bailey not attempted to burnish his reputation as someone who could influence judges, which would be unethical and possibly illegal, but of which Bailey nonetheless publicly boasts. Now, due to extensive news coverage of the subject trial, passerbys often recognize and confront me on the streets, at parties, in parks, in gymnasiums, in other locations where I have my shirt off. They say, hey, I recognize those nips from an email. I know you. In parks, in restaurants, and on public transportation. This dude is so in love with himself. I get recognized everywhere. I'm so important. I go to parties. I go to parks, baby. I go to restaurants. What a weirdo. Now, he says, of course, the irony here is that Trump, whose position is that Bailey was ostensibly promoting, is moving for me to recuse myself. And plaintiff, whose position is that Bailey was ostensibly controverting, opposes the motion. This suggests that Trump are not motivated by ethical concerns, but they seek an opportunity to reverse the trajectory and the outcome of this case. Well, they think that you're a conflicted, unethical judge. Judge, that's the point. Sometimes their unsolicited words are complimentary. Sometimes they're derogatory, like when we call him Areola. Never do they affect my rulings. Now, as with my forced encounter with Bailey, I feel no need to report these fleeting incidents. And so Trump's purports to rely on the rule that a judge may consult with an expert, but I did not consult with Bailey, and I certainly do not consider him an expert. Man, Bailey is getting thrown under the bus. Hey, if Bailey has anything else to say about this, it would be interesting. So he goes through the arguments. He goes through a bunch of cases. Okay, so this is something that any basically lawyer can do. A lot of judges and attorneys think this is like a fancy thing that you can do. They're like, watch this. I'm going to go find a bunch of cases that make my case for me, right? And they find all these cases. Now, this is just a little, like, it's kind of like a magic trick, like anybody can do it. Any lawyer can do. Just find a bunch of cases that are on point with your case. Unless it's a really bad, like a bad case or bad point. You're like, is there a case law that says it's okay to intentionally murder somebody or something like that? And you're like, not really. No, it's not going to work for you. Unless it's something like a self-defense or something, right? That gets very complicated. It's not a good example. But there are cases that just don't apply to any, or fact patterns that have no cases that apply to them at all. Murder is very complicated, actually, so it's a terrible example. But the judge is just doing that. Like, he's going around picking out a bunch of stuff. Cherry picking is the right word. That was at the tip of my tongue. Finally got it. Thank you for indulging that. So, matter of George, matter of Levine, matter of all this, blah, blah, blah. Just copy and pasting, dumping a bunch of stuff. And he's going to say, so it's settled. I don't need to recuse myself. It's up to me and my conscience to determine whether this 90-second unsolicited diatribe about the law, in which I'm fully already familiar with, by some non-party and non-expert landlord-tenant lawyer who does like evictions, I hereby definitively state that this did not impact my adjudication at all. And so a judge is not required to disclose this, and I've been presiding over this. And this docket has over 2,600 separate entries. I've reviewed tons of stuff, and I am supremely confident in my ability to serve, as I always have, impartially. And so we're also not going to have a hearing either. We're not going to have this come in here. Trump wants cases to have an evidentiary hearing, but we're not going to give Bailey, who is accused of the wrongdoing, he has no standing, or he would only have standing to request that. You don't have the standing to request that hearing. And so therefore, Trump's request is denied. The Areola Nip judge, who sends unsolicited #bonus torso photos to his newsletter subscribers. Ugh. I wonder who those people are. Anyways, they are going to have more Arthur Engoron. The appeal will continue in the New York Court of Appeals, and we'll be here continuing to cover it. But Engoron is being very Engoron-y about all this. He's probably going to get recognized again and be very proud of himself in the aftermath. All right, and so that's what's cooking over with Engoron. Let's change gears a little bit, shall we, my friends, and talk about what's cooking with this debate situation. Should we go to debate or should we go with Kamala? Yeah, let's do Kamala, shall we? The Obamas bend the knee to Kamala. Very interesting timing on this one, too. I want to share when this was posted. See here, it was 2:01 my time. So let's say it's about 5 a.m. East Coast time. But it seems like it may have been a little bit rushed. They really hurried this thing out because the Obamas needed to respond to something that Trump said. Because when Trump was out, he posted another interesting item on Truth. He said that there is a strong sense by many in the Democratic Party that Kamala is not even going to be the nominee. Namely, Barack Hussein Obama doesn't like Kamala, recognizes she's a Marxist fraud who can't beat Trump. And so they're holding out for someone better. Now, Trump posted this at 5:37 on July 25th. So then Trump mocks them, ridicules them, makes fun of them. They don't even like Kamala. This is hilarious. So what happens? Well, as we know, they race out to nominate and support her. Obama comes out just a few short hours later at 2:01 in the morning, July 26th. Oh, we love Kamala now. Yeah, right. Earlier this week, Michelle and I called our friend. We're sure you did. So what, this took you a bunch of time to edit and post? Yeah. We told her that we think she'll make a fantastic president of the United States and that we offer her and she has our full support. At this critical moment for our country, we're going to do everything we can to make sure she wins in November, and we hope you'll join us. Now, how do I know that this was rushed? Is because they put this introductory phrase here. Earlier this week. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. You guys were shocked that she was endorsed by Joe Biden. We read an article from Politico that there was fury in the Obama camp. They wanted Mark Kelly from Arizona, terrible decision, to be the actual nominee. It would have been a disaster for them too. The guy's a quisling. So earlier this week, no, you didn't, Barry. You guys hacked this together last minute because you are now trying to figure out what to do. Watch this ridiculous call. Here's Kamala. Hand me the phone. Watch.
Kamala.
Hello. Hi.
Hey there.
Can you hear this?
Oh, hi. You're both together. Oh, it's good to hear you both.
I can't have this phone call without saying to my girl Kamala, I am proud of you. This is going to be historic.
We called to say Michelle and I couldn't be prouder to endorse you and to do everything we can to get you through this election and into the Oval Office.
Oh, my goodness. Michelle, Barack, this means so much to me. I am looking forward to doing this with the two of you, Doug and I both, and getting out there, being on the road. But most of all, I just want to tell you the words you have spoken and the friendship that you have given over all these years mean more than I can express. So thank you both. It means so much. And we're going to have some fun with this too, aren't we?
Oh, gosh. I can't wait to see a lot more of her. We're going to have fun with this too. Look at that. Was that real? Was that real? Was that actually Obama? Was that Michelle? Well, I don't know. Felt a little bit off. Now, Michelle came out with the same thing, says, I'm so proud of my girl, Kamala. Barack and I are so excited to endorse her as the Democratic nominee. She sent it right at 2:01 also. So apparently they're sitting together. Are you ready, honey, to support Kamala? Yeah. And they press it together. Yeah, right. So she says, Barack and I are so excited to endorse her as the Democratic nominee because of her, let's listen to these adjectives. Because of her positivity, okay, her sense of humor, all right, and her ability to bring light and hope to people all across the country. It's kind of like a nice guy comment, right? Yeah, no, yeah. Like, yeah, he's a nice guy. Yeah. What do you think of him? Do you think I should is he a good dude to do business with or not? Yeah, I mean, he's a nice guy, I think. He tries hard. He tries hard a lot. He's pretty funny, too. He works hard. He's always positive a lot. He really wants to get stuff done. I think that's really good. He's got good excitement. He's pretty funny also. Yeah. Ringing endorsement from Michelle. Not really that enthusiastic. So Trump has come out and, as we saw, rubbed their noses in their lack of an endorsement. And I thought that was just hysterical. Now, the media is continuing to try to cover up for Kamala as they circle the wagons to make her the nominee, even though most people don't like her. GovTrack, we've been following this back and forth with Kamala, and the borders are kerfuffled. But now this website called GovTrack retracts its rating that said Kamala was the most liberal senator in 2019 after Biden dropped out. Oops, that's not that long ago. An organization that tracks voting records in Congress yanked, to use a Kamala term, its 2019 rating that pegged Senator Kamala Harris as the most liberal member of the upper chamber. After several media outlets, including the Post, cited the statistic. They said, oh, crap, delete that. The website pulled down its 2019 ranking on Monday evening after it got renewed attention. They'd previously determined in its single-year report card for 2019 that she was the most ideological to the left member of the upper chamber based on her legislative behavior. At the time, she was ranked even further to the left of Elizabeth Warren. Wow. And Bernie Sanders, the latter of whom is typically considered the most left-wing senator, including the most recent metric available from GovTrack. Founder created the website. He said, we just discontinued those types of report cards. He told the Post, we determined that the limited data available in a single year was not sufficient to create a reliable portrait. Therefore, it didn't serve as a useful tool. So we took it down. Wild. All right. So the cover up is well underway. We have people like this. We know this guy, Reid Hoffman, showed up, was talking about Kamala. Let's listen to a little bit about what he said, saying that she brings a lot of excitement. This is the same guy who spent 9 figures. Okay. 9 figures between him and some of his compatriots, his compadres. They have spent, comrades, a bunch of money to stop Trump. Their entire life is basically dedicated to this. They funded the E. Jean Carroll lawsuit, hung out with Jeffrey Epstein, dedicates tons of money, hangs out with George Conway, Roberta Kaplan. That's why they all kind of look the same. Here is what he said about all this excitement.
Donald Trump likes to claim he is the pro-business candidate. But yesterday, there was a call with a number of big Democratic donors who are very excited about the prospect of Kamala Harris with the message to her campaign, how can we help? And what I heard over and over was this idea that for the business class, for the wealthy, Donald Trump might be a short-term win for them, for people like you, but he's a long-term disaster for the country. Do you agree with that sentiment?
I do. I think that people kind of overly think that what's good for business is just a near-term shift on corporate taxes or regulation, which of course are important. They're not irrelevant issues to business. But what's much more important is a stable rule of law democracy with good international relations with our trading partners so that we can do business there, and that where we don't try to rule by tweet. We don't try to do tariff wars. We don't try to do other kinds of things as part of this, but rather, in fact, it's a kind of a stable society that we can invest in. And that's actually much.
A stable society. Do you remember when Kamala Harris was encouraging people to donate to the protesters who burnt down the 3rd Precinct Police Department in Minneapolis, Minnesota? Yeah, we do. This tweet is still up. It's absolutely amazing. I don't know how many times I've liked this tweet, but we're just going to go ahead and repost this while we're here. But this is Kamala. A nice, stable society. Remember, this was June 1st, 2020, the summer of love, fiery but mostly peaceful protests where people were killed, billions of dollars of damage was caused, an order of magnitude of wreckage worse than anything that happened on J6. Kamala, as a reminder, says if you're able to chip in now to the Minnesota Freedom Fund to help post bail for those protesting on the ground in Minnesota. Wow. So they got arrested for committing crimes. Help them get bail so they can get out and get back out. Chip in now. That's Kamala. She was running for the nomination and partaking in this. So not really all that much of an endorsement of a nice, stable, and secure society. Now, there's more here on this. Was this call from Obama scripted? Why did she have this little microphone on? Was it really an impromptu call? What's going on over there? People are asking some interesting questions about it. So Kamala now has the Obamas on board, and they have bended the knee. They are on the Kamala train, which means, is anybody going to come out and endorse anyone else or even run against her between now and the convention? It'd look very foolish now if they swap someone else out, even if she has a more serious introduction to the American people and the polls don't come back. They are still likely to keep her. So I think that has all been now set in stone. And there was one exchange from CNN that says that she might have some difficulty winning any improvements. Not much of a benefit to having her over Biden. Here is what Harry Enton from CNN said when analyzing some of the changes as Kamala shifts into place.
Thing to keep in mind, I think there's all this talk of all this Harris momentum. Maybe there's a slight bit of momentum, but I would argue it's actually a little bit smaller than folks think. So pre-Biden dropping out, look, Trump was up by 2 over Harris. We look at the polls now this week. What do we see? We see Trump is up by 1 over Harris. The massive change is actually the change of candidates, because prior to Biden dropping out, he trailed by 6 points in these exact same polls that we look at here, where Harris was only trailing by 2 points. So the movement is actually from Biden to Harris, not actually Harris herself necessarily moving. Thing to keep in mind, I think there's all this talk of all this Harris.
So not a lot of momentum happening here from CNN. And that's about what we've expected. There are other polls here from Real Clear Politics that have some good assessments and summaries. And Election 2024 has these numbers for us. Let's take a look at the latest 2024 polls. And some of these that were released today have Kamala ahead. Wow. So it's very interesting. So here you can see it was a whole slew of Trump aheads in these various states, but now these are individual state polls. So in Michigan, they have Kamala up +1. In New Hampshire, they have Kamala up +1. And so these are the primary polls on some of the local states. Let's see what the latest 2024 polls look like. Trump versus Harris. Trump in the national polls is still up and away. Now, this one from Morning Consult and Reuters have Harris at +1, but the most recent 3, 4 from CNN, Rasmussen, and New York Times all have Trump up. Rasmussen has Trump up +7. So interesting. I think we're going to see a lot of movement, a lot of volatility in the polls until we get some stuff settling down. But interesting times ahead. Now, there's a big question. What's going to happen at the next debate? Trump released a statement ridiculing Kamala, saying, "You're not even the nominee yet." Trump posted this, exposing Kamala, explaining that he's not going to debate her until she's crystal clear that she's become the nominee. He wrote, "Given the continued political chaos surrounding crooked Joe Biden and the Democratic Party, general election debate details cannot be finalized until the Democrats formally decide on their nominee. There is a strong sense by many in the Democrat Party, namely Barack Hussein Obama, that Kamala Harris is a Marxist fraud who cannot beat President Trump, and they are still, therefore, holding out for someone better. It would be inappropriate to schedule things with Harris because Democrats very well could still change their minds. And the clock is ticking. We know that Obama's now on board, Pelosi's on board, Jeffries is on board. So it seems like it's a formality for Harris to come into play. But Trump is right. Trump already was in agreement to debate Joe Biden twice, already half delivered on that. Showed up, debated him, beat the crap out of him so badly that they had to swap in a new candidate like the WWE, tag someone in who comes in jumping off the railings. And now they want Kamala to just slot in there and act as though she's Joe, I guess. Even though the Democrats have not nominated her, it is a debate and switch, which is fraudulent. So Kamala came out and she was talking a big tough game out there outside of an airplane. Here's what she sounded like.
Previously agreed upon September 10th debate. He agreed to that previously. Now it appears he's backpedaling, but I'm ready. And I think the voters deserve to see the split screen that exists in this race on a debate stage. And so I'm ready. Let's go. Will you do it?
And so I guess she's agreeing to debate. The question is, are they going to debate on Joe Biden's second debate date? Okay, Trump had a date with Joe, and Kamala's like, well, I'd like to have that date. And Trump's like, well, I don't even know if you're going to be, I wasn't agreeing to date you. So no, until we get some more clarity on this. You've already defrauded me. You already said that you were the nominee, and then you removed that nominee like little cowards. You came out and confirmed that he would do two. He did one and then ran away like a little child. So Pete Buttigieg is out. They're trying to spread this meme around. He says that, has a presidential nominee ever agreed to a debate and then pulled out? It's a remarkable show of weakness here if Trump doesn't debate Kamala on that date. We ask ourselves, Pete, Joe Biden literally just did that. He agreed to the September 10th date and then removed himself. Who are these people? They keep telling us he's very smart. Yes, a presidential nominee called Joe Biden did the first one, lost, and then WWE tag teamed someone else in. In fact, they actually hit Joe Biden with a chair in the back of the head in that WWE match. Joe Biden was like, no, I'm good for a second one. Then the Undertaker came out and just goosh, cracked him over the back of the head. And then Kamala came out in her little leotard dancing and cackling. And the crowd's like, oh, gosh. And she jumps off the rafters. What the hell's going on with this party? Weird freak show. So, yeah, that was you who threw him out. That was your candidate, idiot. Here's what Sean Davis wrote. Great follow on X. We love Sean Davis. Says Trump agreed to debate Biden. Okay, Biden dropped out of the race, which means Biden terminated the agreement. You people lie as effortlessly as you breathe. Exactly right. It's like, well, I'm not going to go date. I'm not going to go on a date with you, a lunchtime with you. No, I don't even know who you are. Guy Benson, also a great follow, says, I'm actually surprised that Pete would dunk on his boss this hard. His boss being Joe Biden. The man literally just pulled out of the race and therefore the second debate clearly against his will. Undeniable weakness aside, stop beating up on Joe. Okay, just give him a moment of peace, for crying out loud. Even Mary Catherine Ham agrees. Says the debate was agreed to with a candidate and a campaign that no longer exists. Hello. So that debate no longer exists. She has to negotiate for her own terms and her own debate. And our friend Julie Kelly also supports this. Says the guy who agreed to the debate and then backed out of the debate is Joe Biden, morons. This isn't hard. Read your own headlines, for crying out loud. Joe Biden and Trump agreed to hold 2 debates. Guess who agreed to do them both? Trump. Guess who agreed to do them both? Biden. Together. Joe Biden bailed, not Trump. Ran away like a coward after failing in his first term. Here's what Jonathan Swan and Hagerman say. Biden and Trump agreed to 2 debates. I'm sure Trump will debate Joe Biden on the 10th if he were the nominee, but he's not the nominee, or will not be the nominee because he ran away like a coward. Same thing here. So now they're trying to say that Trump's backing out of a debate. Their candidate literally just backed out of a debate. It's pathetic. Here is what Guy Benson says in response to all this madness over on with Fox, reposting this to the top of our timeline. If you're following along at home, make sure you're giving him a follow.
It's a different campaign now. I saw her campaign put out a tweet, whatever happened to any time, any place, talking about the sort of boasting and bravado of Donald Trump. That was a challenge and a gauntlet he threw down to the winner of the Democratic primaries, who is no longer the candidate, right? Because the first debate actually happened. We had a general election debate in this country, and it went so badly for the Democratic nominee that he dropped out of the race. So if Kamala Harris would like to have debates with Donald Trump moving forward, I think it'd be good to at least have one. I think Trump is 100% right to open the negotiations all over again, because you can't just switch in a new candidate midstream in the middle of a general election and pretend like the previously agreed to things all must remain in place for you. This is very abnormal, and so this is the right move by the Trump campaign. It's a different...
Yeah, it's ridiculous. They just tag team someone in. You know how unfair that is. It's like in a video game where the guys just keep coming. Just keep coming. Someone else. Okay, I'm going to beat this boss. Someone else boss, another boss comes. Like, I just beat you. Another one comes in. Full of life, full of health. What the hell's going on here? And it's cheating. It's defrauding their own party. They had a bunch of people vote. They debated and switched. They told Trump he was the nominee, and then they threw him out because Trump was beating them. So, no, he doesn't have to agree to their terms at all. In fact, he called in and was talking about this, saying Joe Biden has done a terrible job, sounds terrible. They're trying to slot Kamala in here. Things are getting rough.
I've decided the best way forward is to pass the torch to a new generation.
Really? Was it his decision? Joining us now on the phone, the 45th President of the United States, who wants to be the 47th, the GOP presidential nominee, President Trump. Mr. President, welcome back. We used to do this before you were running for office. Now we're back doing it with the stakes much higher than who's going to win The Apprentice. But let's talk about that speech last night. Do you think we learned why Joe Biden decided not to run against you?
Well, I think it was a coup. They didn't want him running. He was way down in the polls, and they thought he was going to lose. They went to him and they said, you can't win the race, which I think is true, unless I did something very foolish, which I wasn't going to do. And I think he was so far down, and they said, you're not going to win, and you're not in great shape, and you did poorly in the debate. I think the debate started everything. It really started the fall if he didn't have the debate. And remember, they challenged me. I didn't challenge them. They said, let's have a debate. They gave me everything I didn't want, from Jake Tapper to everybody else in CNN, and, I said, I'll take it, because I was surprised that he was willing to debate. So we debated. It didn't turn out well, but it really began from the debate. And the ratings, his approval numbers went very bad, and I was beating him by a lot, and all of a sudden you could see what was happening. They were trying to do a coup. And, I have it from very good information. I know a lot of people on the other side, too, that they went and they forced him out, between Pelosi and Obama and some others that
Clearly
you see on television. It was interesting. I'd watch them on television, and they act so nice. Oh, yes, we love Joe. We love Joe. Behind the scenes, I know for a fact they were brutal.
So, Mr. President, should he have taken yesterday, during that Oval Office address, to resign? Because there's clearly something up right now. The reports are coming out that he's falling asleep in cabinet meetings. They're scripting everything.
Don't even have cabinet meetings. Last one was October.
Nancy Pelosi had to take over infrastructure negotiation because he was all over the place. Should he have resigned yesterday in this speech?
He's been this way for a long time. He hid in his basement during COVID. They pulled a fast one. He was in his basement. When I was campaigning, I say, where is this guy? He's never out. And he's been this way for a long time. I think he's worse now. I watched the speech last night, and look, the amazing thing is you look at the other networks, they say, oh, wasn't that a wonderful speech? Wasn't he wonderful? It was terrible. It was like a terrible speech. And terrible delivery.
Funeral.
He looked like he was having problems.
Like a eulogy.
And yet you watch the other networks, and you would think he was Ronald Reagan in his prime, Winston Churchill in his prime, and he wasn't. It was not good. It was not a good. It was not a good speech. The look, the sound, the voice, everything, and it's so phony what's going on. I mean, the press is so. It's so fake. Anybody can see it was a problem. He's a problemed man. Should he stay?
Heroic.
I guess that's up to him, and it's up to the people. And I don't think they should use the 25th Amendment. You have not long to go. We have 4 months now, and then he's got another month and a half. But I will say this, the world is in a very dangerous place. I think if he goes, she then takes over, and she's worse than he is. I really believe she's a San Francisco radical. She's actually, I think, a much worse candidate than he is. And she's not doing very well in the polls, considering she's got a little birthday present.
Well, she's so progressive, and you can just look at her voting record. Nonpartisan GovTrack says she's the most liberal U.S. senator. She's more liberal than Bernie
Until
Sanders.
they removed
when you
it.
Look at her record. And last night, I don't know if you watched Sean's show, but in his A block, his monologue, he went through all of her radical proposals, and then he would say, listen to it in her own words. And then he'd play a soundbite of what she wanted to do, and her saying that she wanted to do this. She's against fracking. She likes the open border. She's not going to criminalize people who walk across the border, on and on and on. It just laid out how drastic her policies are. Can America survive a Kamala Harris presidency?
No. And she also wants to defund the police, and she really wants to do it more than any other person. She's the most radical person probably that we've had in office, let alone the office of the presidency. She was a horrible campaigner when she ran. She ran against Biden. And I thought he was terrible, but she was terrible. She was horrible. And she was the meanest person up there. She was meaner to him than anybody else. She accused him of being a racist with the buses, if you remember. She was the meanest person, but not a very good debater, but nasty, just nasty to him. And then when he chose her, I said, how do you do that? A person treats you so badly. He was treated so badly during the debates. And he wasn't all there even during those debates. I mean, that was a long time ago. He still wasn't there. If you know him, he wasn't there 25 years ago. He was not exactly the brightest bulb in the ceiling. And this is what we got. And look at our country now with 20 million, because the number, I saw you talking before to Rachel's mom. And it was very sad. I know them. And what happened to Rachel was so horrible. And what happened to so many families and so many people in families with all of the criminals pouring into our country. And remember this, every single country all over the world, unless they're stupid, is releasing their prisoners and their gang members and their bad people into our country. Venezuela, which has a tremendous problem with crime in Caracas and other places, Venezuela is releasing thousands of people, criminals, gang members, drug dealers, the worst. They're releasing them into the United States. Venezuelan crime is down 72%. Their prison population is becoming much smaller. I'm surprised they haven't just moved all of them. They will. They'll soon have no prisoners. All of the prisoners are being moved into the United States. And that's true with many other countries. It's true with countries all over. The Congo in Africa is releasing their prisoners into the United States.
So, Mr. President,
and we are so stupid that we take them, and nothing good is going to happen.
It is stupid. We're taking the Congo
we have
people.
terrorists
That's far.
coming in at a level that we've never seen, mostly from the Middle East. Terrorists are coming into our country at a level that we've never seen before. And this is so bad for our country. There is nothing good about it. This is so bad for our country.
And there we were looking at some of the video from the new caravan that is heading our way. Mr. President.
I thought she was probably going to happen anyway, because I knew there was a palace coup going on. And I assumed that she'd be probably getting it. She had the advantage. So, no, it wouldn't matter. No, he's doing a fantastic job. He goes around. He's essentially for the worker. He's seen the worker be horribly abused and taken advantage of, and he's for the worker. That's what his book is about. That's where his feelings are.
Gotcha.
No, he's for the worker. No, he's great. He's doing a great job, and he's been very well received.
Well, Kamala Harris has given 2 speeches now that she's the candidate, and she's going, they're almost identical speeches. This is what she's doing. She's going after you this way. Watch.
Before I was elected vice president, before I was elected United States Senator, I was elected Attorney General of the state of California, and I was a courtroom prosecutor before then. I took on perpetrators of all kinds.
Marijuana offenses and truant parents.
Who abused women.
AGs.
Fraudsters.
Yeah.
Who ripped off consumers.
Like you guys did?
Cheaters. Who broke the rules for their own gain. So hear me when I say, I know Donald Trump's type. And in this campaign,
oh, amazing. They're going to do this prosecutor shtick.
I will proudly put my record against his any day of the week.
There's the attack. What's the retort?
Well, I think it's disgusting, and I get a kick out of one thing. They say, sir, be nice. You just got hit with a bullet. Maybe he's changed. Be nice. And I'd love to be nice, but I'm dealing against real garbage. When you hear that, they've weaponized the justice system against me. They've indicted me 4 times. They've pushed other lawsuits onto me. It's never happened in this country. This is like a third world country, what they've done, a banana republic. Every single court case that I have is pushed on by them. They've taken the Justice Department, used local DAs, and used local attorney generals. Every single case I have, and I just won the big one in Florida that Biden didn't win. What happened to Biden is they called him incompetent. He can run for president, but he's incompetent to represent himself in court. But just so you know, they push all these cases on me. They're the ones that started. And then they say, I'm a prosecutor. He's a criminal. They're the ones. Every case is started by them.
Yeah.
And I'm winning the cases.
Biden.
But every case, and the big one I just won in Florida was just thrown out by a brilliant judge, to be honest with you.
Eileen Cannon.
And it's disgraceful. It's disgraceful that they can do this. It's called weaponization, and it does happen in other countries.
Mr. President,
but does it get under your
skin? It's never happened in this country before.
Does that get under your skin when those comments are made? Because that's what they're meant to do.
It's not a question of getting under your skin. You fight back. I fought back, I think, very valiantly. But they weaponized the United States Justice Department against Donald Trump for purposes of hurting their political opponent. And so far, and I think long term, it's had a positive effect. My poll numbers are high. They're higher than they've ever been. People don't like what they're doing. They weaponize it to go after a political opponent. Now, and she was very much in charge, and she was a prosecutor, but she was a failed prosecutor. She put a lot of people in jail that should have never been there. She put people in jail that were political enemies. She's bad news. She's a radical left, not very smart person.
Mr. President,
she failed her bar exam.
Love that.
She couldn't even pass her bar exam. Brutal on her. She couldn't pass it. She thought she'd never be able to pass it. This is what we have as our next president.
I'm Steve Doocy.
All right, bar exams are pretty hard. Some people can't pass them the first time. They're hard. But anyways, Kamala definitely didn't pass it the first time. I think Hillary may have failed it the first time too. But interesting now that they're going to really embrace this prosecutor shtick from Kamala. So the left is now going to be in favor of prosecutors prosecuting people. She put people in jail for marijuana and then admitted that she was a marijuana smoker while she was putting people in prison. You know how grotesque that is? Prison while she's lighting doobies all over the place with Willie. Are you kidding me? She was mocking people, saying that people were asking for food and water. We put them in prison. They asked for, can I have more? Like mocking them. Truant parents. Okay, their kids aren't going to school. Parents probably have another problem going on. She comes in, charges them with crimes. Great, put them in jail. That'll be good for the kids. Lunatic. And now she's going to, I guess, wear that as a badge of honor, and a bunch of lefties are going to say, I love putting people in prison. Because it starts with Trump. all commandeered by the left because it's the only thing they have. She can't stand on her policies. She's part of the Joe Biden administration. They've accomplished nothing. And so she's just going to inherit those criminal prosecutions and try to ride those into the ground because they have literally nothing else. All right, so that's Kamala. Now, we also have an interesting new update here. And this just dropped. An update on Donald Trump's ear just dropped from Ronnie Jackson, the doctor, telling us that, yes, he continues to recover from the bullet wound to his ear. Dropped from Ronnie Jackson on X, reposted on our account if you care to follow along at home. He tells us that on July 26, we have a memo for concerned citizens of these United States. That's us. From Ronnie Jackson, former physician to the president. He tells us, here's an update on the health of President Trump. Now, as the former physician to the president for President Donald J. Trump, I have continued to monitor his health and well-being, along with his primary care physician since the assassination attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania on the evening of J 13th, as we know, which we call the attack on American democracy. Now, the would-be assassin fired multiple rounds from a relatively close distance using a high-powered rifle, with one bullet striking the former president, and now Republican nominee for president in his right ear. I have reviewed President Trump's medical records from Butler Memorial Hospital, where he was initially evaluated and treated for a, quote, gunshot wound to the right ear. Having served as an emergency medicine physician for over 20 years in the United States Navy, including as a combat physician on the battlefield in Iraq, I've treated many gunshot wounds in my career. Based on my direct observations of the injury, my relevant clinical background, and my significant experience evaluating and treating patients with similar wounds, I completely concur with the initial assessment and treatment provided by the doctors and nurses at Butler Memorial on the day of the shooting. Now, during the hearing 2 days ago, FBI Director Christopher Wray suggested that it could be a bullet, shrapnel, or glass. Now, there is absolutely no evidence that it was anything other than a bullet. Congress should correct the record as confirmed by both the hospital and myself. Director Wray is wrong and inappropriate to suggest anything else. Says, as a former physician for 14 years who served during 3 presidential administrations and served as the appointed physician for both President Obama and President Trump, I fully understand the global significance of this attempt on the life of the former president and current Republican nominee for president. And as such, I want to reassure the American people and the rest of the world that President Trump is doing extremely well. He is rapidly recovering from the gunshot wound to his right ear. I will continue to be available to assist President Trump and his personal physician in any way they see fit, and will provide updates as necessary with the permission of President Trump. Respectfully, Ronnie L. Jackson, former physician to the president. So, an update to rebut Christopher Wray's fake story. Here is more confirmation. The Secret Service originally says that it was a bullet. And the New York Times also, as we recall, captured the bullet in a photo whizzing past Trump's ear. Photo appears to capture from the New York Times the bullet used in the assassination attempt, or glass or shrapnel, as they make up. Glass from the teleprompter that didn't break. So Ronnie Jackson with a nice update, and Christopher Wray trying to muck up the waters, now rejected accordingly. Good news. All right, so good update on the president. And so, my friends, we covered some good stuff today. We had some debate updates between Kamala and Trump. Obama's bending the knee to the Kamalas. We've got Trump now with the judge who continues to refuse to recuse himself. Angeron, Areola, the nip. Tish, furious now that she has to deal with an appeal. And a good update on Trump's ear. He's healing well. And now, my friends, let's hear from you. Let's see what you say about all of this. It's a beautiful Friday. Very grateful that you're here on this early morning stream with us. We'll say hello, then we'll go hang out on Locals for a little bit as we round out the week. Let's see who's joining us in the house. What's going on to Stan in the house? What's up, Membo, for 1 month? First month's the hardest. Gets easier from there. Stan says, howdy. Hope y'all doing fine. Doing fine today, Stan. Thanks for being here. Thanks for joining us today. It's an amazing day. The Philip Butler also says that there was just Secret Service just confirmed that it was a bullet. Let's see. Did they just drop something? I thought I saw something like that. And yeah, let's see. Did Guglielmi? Here, let's see if they... where was that statement? Let me see if I have this. I don't know where it's at. All right, so we'll just keep going. Hey, what's up? Patty B Photography says ice cream. Wink, wink. No, I'm not joking. It really was ice cream. Like, yeah. Franny's is the name of the place. That's how I roll, baby. Cookies and cream and cookie dough. Okay, 2 scoops, cookies and cream and cookie dough. And they don't play around. They're not like little tiny scoops in Phoenix, right? You go down to the city. They're like, here you go. Bloop, bloop. You're like, what is this? $27. Here. Chunks, man. Nice chunks. Good stuff. I don't know where the Secret Service linked that. I'm trying to find that link, but I don't know where that's at. If there was a new update on that one. For some reason, I thought I saw that, but I don't have it saved. And it's not on their official location. But okay, what's up? Thank you for that, Patty. We got MAGA Mark says, hey, became a new YouTube member. Thanks for joining us, MAGA Mark. Great to have you. 200 Watt Studio says, I just translated the judge's comment. I was schooled on the law by a landlord-tenant lawyer. No one does that to my ego. Yeah, usually when you have to come out like that against somebody, really insult them, really dig into it. It's like if a black belt is going against the white belt, the black belt doesn't need to justify himself in a court order. You just say, I listened to his advice and I had to reject it. But Angeron really went into it, laced into it, spent a good portion of that digging into this dude. Like if it wasn't consequential, obviously you thought a lot about it because you wrote several paragraphs on this. It's like, geez, you must have been thinking about this in the shower for days. You remember everything. You remember exactly how it went, how you were. In your mind, landlord, tenant lawyer telling me what to do. Ah. It's like, sheesh, Angeron. What are you so upset about, bro? It's like, if it's just a passing comment, I didn't think anything about it. I just thought, oh, that's okay. Hey, good to see you. Have a nice day. Move on. But no, he gets recognized everywhere and he needed to tell everybody. Hey, T-Dog Rodriguez. A new YouTube member. Great to see you, T-Dog. Thanks for joining us. Terry Wade, what's up? Says, please cover the printed talking points in what the media is told to say. Well, we talked a little bit about that yesterday, Terry Wade. If you missed that on the show, we had that segment from Peter Doocy. Peter Doocy brought up the card, actually held it up to Karine, showed it to Karine. So I don't know where that came from. Talk to the campaign. Leave me alone. So yeah, it's weird. What we're seeing in the media is actually kind of shocking. Not that shocking after 2020. We suspected they'd do it again, but they're literally rewriting history. She was never the border czar. Say these things. The media themselves said she was a border czar. And then they say, oh, we didn't say that, or we were wrong when we said it. Changing the whole narrative, changing history. Object Class Keeter says, if Dems doing this to their candidates of hiding what they are and handle themselves, if Dems keep doing this to their candidates, they're going to have a hard time in presidential elections. Yeah, I mean, I think people want authenticity. People want access. They want to see the candidates, hear from the candidates, get to know them. And Trump brings a lot of that. Whether you love him or hate him, there's a lot of authenticity to Trump. And there was that old video of Obama and Trump. They were comparing their two speeches when they killed each other, or Obama killed bin Laden and Trump killed Baghdadi. And the distinction between the two, one felt like a fake, stupid little, facade, Obama came out. Obama executed with the full power of America. Okay. You're just reading, dude. You're not even a real person. You're just reading what's on the teleprompter. Trump came out, was like, he died like a dog. Get out of here. Right? And one's real, one's not real. One's presidential, one's actually presidential. And so one's a facade, one's real. People want more real. I think we're tired of the Hollywood facade garbage. And what the government tells us is real is not real. We can see it. And this is good news, man. This is the informational supply chains being rebuilt in real time around us. We're watching people reject old media and turn to new media. It's great. What's up? I'd rather be skiing. Says, on a positive note, okay, let's see if I can get it right. Kamala, screw it. She has the strongest quadriceps of any president ever. Yeah, something like that. What's up? We got this one from Tony Hey Munkets, bringing in 5 new membos. 5 new membos in the house. Thank you, Tony, for bringing them in, and welcome aboard, new friends. Bruce Rice is bringing in 10 membos as well. Bruce, thank you for doing that. My new membo friends, welcome aboard. Bruce Rice brought you in. Great to have you here. We got Philip B. Says the Secret Service just said it was a bullet. I was trying to find where they just said that, and I couldn't find it, Philip. If you have a link or something, that'd be great. But I don't see it anywhere. I don't know. Brian Cardoza says the current VP is not a prosecutor, but a prostituter. Selling one's soul to the highest bidder, a puppet with so many strings that one may get gagged on them. From Brian Cardoza. Thank you, Brian. Here's one from James Butler. Says, missed opportunity. I'd love to see a Kamala Harris and a Fani Willis ticket. It's true. That would be delicious. Popcorn sales would go through the roof. Yeah. And she's the biggest Kamala in DC, and Fanny's the biggest Fanny in Georgia. They need Georgia for sure. So it might be a good strategy. They should do it. Hey, what's up? Philip Butler says, can't confirm it either. Oh, man. Okay. Yeah, I couldn't find it. I saw that, but I couldn't confirm it. There was a story about that somewhere else. They said it in the immediate aftermath. Let's see. Yeah. I thought I found that somewhere. Let me see. They made some statements. All right. Anyways, so my friends, thank you for sending those in. Those all came in over on YouTube. I really appreciate all those incredible donos. Let's see what else was coming in from our friends on Locals. We are going to go over to Locals and hang out for a little bit longer. We'd love to have you come and join us. Let's see who's joining us over there right now. We've got some comments in here from Angel's in the house. Angel says, what's the latest on that woman in the crowd? Someone identified her, and I don't think she's a federal agent. D Sensei says, thank you for what you do in such an entertaining way. My favorite was when you were talking about Angeron's niptastic gag order. Angeron's niptastic gag order. Did I say that? That sounds like something I would say. Well, that's what Angeron thinks, and he's very excited about it. Lady Ice, not going to show that one. Milo Phone Bill says, if the banks were disgorged, wouldn't the supposed ill-gotten gains be paid to the banks and not the state of New York? The good thesis. Tobo says, the AG and Angeron would face charges for violating Trump's civil rights. They'd face charges for violating Trump's civil rights. Should face charges. This old guy says, the 1787 New York was the 11th state to ratify the U.S. Constitution. Prior to that, the lowest courts of the colony were known as the least supreme courts of the colony. However, upon ratification of the U.S. Constitution, the legislature accidentally omitted the word least from the name of lowest courts in the colony, and least supreme courts magically became the Supreme Courts. New York is so upside down that no one has even actually noticed. Chubby says, the totally unplanned, the completely unscripted call from Obama to Harris is just so cringe. I feel embarrassed for all of them. It's just amazing that they luckily just happened to have those cameras rolling while she was doing absolutely nothing of import right when that call came in. Knox is here, says, TGIF all, I started seeing Harris for Prez ads as soon as Joe dropped out, like nice ads with a myriad of outfits. I also think that she had some work done on her face, which takes time to heal. I know, LOL. This was planned at least 6 months ago. And maybe that's why they wanted to accelerate the debates so that they had time to take Joe out and replace him, which is why we were supportive of Joe from the very beginning. We were supporting him as the Democratic nominee like months ago. Now he's gone. Darn it. What's up? Words Mean Things says, how to not compliment your bestie. You have a great personality. Yeah, I know. That's a good one too. Hey man, you should go out with my girlfriend's friend. Oh, really? What's her name? Well, whatever, but is she good looking? Well, I mean, she has a really good personality. I think I just want to be single. SoCal says, do you think Dems want Harris to take the loss to 45 because the Dems' chance of winning is 0? Or will they swap her out? I think they're going to ride with Harris. I don't know how they can swap her out now. Everybody's on the Harris train and she's got a bunch of money. I don't think they can swap her out at this point. Zone Girl says Kamala and she's not going to do anything. She's not going to make any sudden moves that's going to cause them to get rid of her prior to August and when they nominate her officially. Zone Girl says must have a lot of dirt. She was just threatened to reveal on the big actors. They all jumped on the train very quickly. I would not be surprised that she was gathering data to use. Larry says a new commie puppet, which is Harris in the house. A new commie puppet, which is Harris. The Rubos are in the house. Sharing this one, them, RuboSaltShop.com says, a bullet or shrapnel which is sowing doubt. Are you asking me to resign? They say we the people are saying yes from the Rubos. Rub Some Dirt on It says, hey, that's a good shirt, Rob. Hey, thank you, Rub Some Dirt on It. I like this one. This is one that I want to wear all the time. And I have one that's pretty similar to it. I just like it. Kind of fits well, feels good. Yeah, it's a good one. Hey, R. Taylor says, does anyone have that Obama-Trump video from R. Taylor? We had this one from Lady Ice. Says, saw an interesting observation on that iconic photo of the bullet. Takes a super high-speed film to capture that. Would not be normal to capture that photo with just the regular setting. So someone had the camera trained on the right setting at the right time in order to get the photo from Lady Ice. Rub Some Dirt on It says, it appears your shirt has received the local seal of approval. Whoa. +2, +3 on the nice shirt. Rob has his shirt together. Benefits of being an attorney. Great insights on where to find good clothing. LOL. And pay for it too. These shirts are not cheap at all. But they're good. I've also bought a lot of, crap polo shirts over my years of wearing polos. And the crap polos, they just go bad quickly. The big thing you have a problem with are the collars, right? They just start popping up. They get really loose and you gotta swap them out once they start. And you'll see me sometimes my shirts, my collar. Actually, I'm due up for a whole new upgrade. But this one's pretty good. This one has some good life left in it. Thanks for noticing. We're part of the polo revolution. Okay, we're part of the polo revolution. Making America great and proper again. Cliff Norman says CBS calling Trump a liar gets outed by Elon Musk and X. Rob showed the Minnesota Fund tweet earlier from Kamala Harris, also known as the vehicle called a Nissan on the carpet. Okay, get it? So just say that quickly in your head. All right. So, my friends, amazing comments today. Thank you for sending those in on YouTube, on Locals. Let's shout out some friends on X this morning. See who's joining us in the house. We had a couple folks swing by. What's up, Drunk Pinata? Said, I'm glad you pointed out the microphone. I was wondering where they were getting that super clean audio of the call from. Speakerphone and a lapel mic. Totally scripted for sure. What's up, Politocracy? Nice to see you. We got some good friends, Drunk Pinatas over there, Politocracy. We got Skeeters in the house. Jacob's in the house. Hey, shout out to Don. What's up, Don, at the Jacob Z household. Don in the house. A birthday? Happy birthday, Don. Hope you had a beautiful day. What's up, Tony D? Says Angeron's signature looks very like a teacher gave him an A and then circled it. I think he thinks he's part of the Avengers or something. Angeron, Arthur Engoron with an A. Like he's part of the Avengers. Yeah, I don't know. So, my friends, great comments and great love. We have Boopsy asking about polos. Don't have any polos in the merch store. It's a good idea, though. The problem is they'd be very expensive. They'd be probably about, I don't know, $180, $200, because I'd want to get a polo, like a very nice polo, and then embroider it. So they'd be very expensive. So I don't know that there's a real market for it. But anyways, thanks for the idea. Polos are amazing. I love polo shirts. In fact, I need to get some more. But my friends, that is going to be it for us on the day. We are going over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com for our members only after party. We'd love to see you come over there and join us. And yeah, somebody was talking about 200 Watt Studio came in, says Kama Mama Malala sounds like a name you try to say when your mouth is full. That's what Kamala said. Voice of the People says, that's right. We are the new media. We are just real everyday Americans speaking out now. And that's amazing because the American people who can speak and report on their truth from the reality is much more truthful than the media who is creating a truth from their reality, which is not actually reality at all, right? Creating a narrative. So one has a connection to reality. The other is just fake. And so even if, like I'm not Anderson Cooper with $1 trillion studio and $1 billion company behind me and all those things, but we can make observations that he cannot make because he's beholden to a giant conglomerate. So he's not actually free at all. We are. So we can comment about things that he cannot comment about, which is why this show has more power than his show. Maybe not now in terms of eyeballs, but in terms of power of the truth, we beat them every day. And so does yours voice. So does everybody's, right? Our voices are more powerful because they're actually true. They have less power than we do. They just have giant microphones and a lot of money, which is power, but it's brute force power. It's not power rooted in authenticity. So keep on fighting, man. And we don't necessarily, like, one of us doesn't have to be bigger than Cooper. We just all we all have our little rowboats in this nice, beautiful journey of life. And we just hook our rowboats together. So the Watcher fam joins with the Voice of the People, Off-Label Podcast fam joins with all the other fams. And we have a nice big force. What's up? Stan Cottrell says, just heard RFK Jr.'s dropping out and endorsing Trump. I heard rumors about that, but I also saw that RFK actually rebutted those rumors, saying he's going to stay in and he's not going anywhere. Yeah, and 200 Watt Studios. Somebody was asking about Kamala Harris's work. The politicians get a lot of work, Botox and facelifts, and I don't even know what else. But 200 Watt Studio agrees, says she's definitely had facials, and I think that's probably true too. I mean, probably a lot of them just by the look of her. So, pretty normal thing, especially for Kamala. Probably her first order of business to get that done. Anyways, so we are, of course, going to go over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com for our members only after party. And we'll look forward to seeing you come over and join us. Art Taylor says, it's very eerie how Joe is still our president and she is only a Democrat running for president, but she's on camera acting like she's currently the president. It's yuck. She is, right? Joe is gone. Where's Joe been? She's like meeting with Benjamin Netanyahu. She's taking phone calls like they're handing her stuff. Like she's not even the president. She's still the vice president. Joy K. What's up, Joy K? Says your presentations are easy to understand. Thank you, Joy K. Thanks for joining us and following along on some of this madness. And so, my friends, all right, amazing. It's been an amazing Friday and a beautiful week. We are going to wrap it up right there. Plan is we're coming back next week on Monday to get back into the regular show routine. Membos, stick around. We'll have some stuff over the weekend, of course. And we'd love for you to become membos, YouTube membos, locals membos. Thanks for supporting us. Very grateful for those things. If you'd like to join us, we do streams in the morning, Saturday. Tomorrow's schedule is going to be wonky for membos because we are moving locations. So we will be leaving Prescott, Arizona tomorrow and going to Sedona, Arizona tomorrow for a couple more days. And then we'll be heading back into the Valley next week. So that's the plan. So membos, check the calendar if you want to follow along. robertgovea.com/calendar. I'll update that as soon as I know when we'll be doing our stream, but we got to get up and check out and all that stuff. So we'll have a little bit of a different membo schedule tomorrow morning. But right now we are hanging out. We're going over to locals, watchingthewatchers.locals.com. If you want to join us, we got new membo. Vicky, what's up, Vicky C? Became a new membo. So we'll look forward to seeing you on our next members only stream. But my friends, that is going to be it for us on the day. Thank you so much for subscribing wherever it is you're watching this. Thanks for inviting someone you know or love to come on over here, check out our channel. There's a lot of stuff going on here. We do our best to keep apprised of it all because it's a lot. And we are trying to be good citizens here, stay engaged, stay active, stay participatory, because we've got a country to save and a country to make great again. So we're going to come back here on Monday to get into it all again, my friends. And in order to do that, we are going to need to see you right back here so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night, my friends, and an amazing weekend. We'll see you right back here on Monday. Bye-bye.